Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division with various win for the Sakura Hills 2, a course that we have played only one time in tournaments in the past. That was the origami tournament quite a while ago, so these videos are on the older side of things. However though, it will display a way for you to play the holes. If you do enjoy the guide, the playthrough that I'm doing here, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. For those of you that are looking to improve your game even more, scan the QR code here on the screen or go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. For everyone that do play Expert and Master Division tournaments, we do have 50% off on our tournament packages via the code that will be revealed Monday the 21st of April. So make sure to check that out. Last but not least, follow the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also a ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind, you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there's always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. Hole number 1, depending on what wind angle you do have off tee, you're gonna be facing two types of, you're gonna face a decision. Either, if you do have tailwind, you're gonna go max over power and go above the bunker. You can hit great left, great right and still be safe because it's a massive fairway. Or you aim before the bunker and bounce over the bunker if you do have a headwind. Or if you do have a headwind. I would say if you do have a straight crosswind, you can still reach over the bunker, but be aware that if you do have any form of headwind, you're gonna go directly into the bunker, and that's definitely not something we do want to do. I'm using approximately 0.8 ball of right curl, 3.5 bar topspin, and 3 right spin. You don't have to play with a kingmaker if you don't want to. I play with a kingmaker on this hole specifically because that's actually the ball that I have the most on this account, but you can play with any power 3 ball here on hole 1. Second shot is going to be a thorn towards the pin. We're going to be very close to min line here, so I'm moving up a little bit from the min line to make sure that I'm not going to pull into it. 3 backspin, aiming with the ball guideline just before the hole. And here comes an important thing here when it comes to the aim point. Is like when we do not have a good ball guideline, which we don't with low level clubs, then we have to estimate the rollout ourselves, and that's why I'm aiming so close with 3 backspin, because the rollout will be very minimal. I'm playing, in this case, I'm playing 10% elevation, and I'm playing this one 5% slider, so it's basically 10% elevation, minimum distance, adding 0.1, and getting a dead center for a lovely eagle to start with on one of the easier par 4s in the game of the Sakura Hills. Hole number 2 is very difficult, and I would say it's mainly difficult for one thing, and that is the ball guideline on our long iron. You will hear me talk about that in this video on several holes where we do play with a long iron, how important it would be to have a club such as the Grizzly level 7 that gives us a 4.5 ball guideline. Now I understand that is just a complaint from my end, because it makes it much harder for us to get it dialed in. Now I'm doing my very best to aim at a hole, but in the end it looks like that I'm aiming slightly left of the hole, which obviously is a problem. I'm playing this shot maximum distance with a 20% over adjustment, hitting a perfect ball, and you see that we bounce nicely on the fairway up towards the right of the green, and it just curves off there. If we would have been a little bit more right, that would have been a very good chance. And you can see there on the green that we are falling, the green is falling right to left, so it almost feels like we should be aiming for the very right of the pin based on the view that we saw there, for the ball to just fall down that little hill and get itself into the hole. But this par 3 is most definitely much tougher this time than what it has been before with the old hole location, which I would say was one of the easier par 3s that we do have in the game. But now with the pin standing way more right, the bunker to the right is in play, and we have less room for error. Hole number 3, the drive. Playing with a big topper here is a massive advantage. It doesn't matter if it's a big topper level 1 or it's a big topper level 8. Because no matter what though, the big topper is most definitely going to give you a way of just double bouncing on the fairway over to the final fairway, which is our goal. And that can be done in all wind angles here. It doesn't matter if it is headwind, crosswind, or tailwind. What I'm doing here that you can't see because it's a replay glitch, I'm starting with a power 0 ball in max distance. Then I'm switching to a power 3 ball to make sure that I'm not gonna adjust into overpower. And then I adjust max plus 10. You can see that I'm double bouncing on the fairway down to the final fairway, and I'm using approximately 3/4 of a ball in right curl. And getting it down like we're having here now is definitely the way to open up for a possibility of doing an albatross. If we don't get it down to the second fairway, we can see it in the way that if you do not get it down there, you will get yourself an eagle as best, because then we only have to focus on getting the ball to green, and we're gonna really have to see it as the albatross is gone. The second shot is most definitely not one of my favorite shots, because we're gonna have to play on this little uphill fairway, which has never and will never be consistent for us to play. You can see that the pin stands way left on the green now, and I would say it's a little bit more manageable than the last time, meaning that I think it's positioned in a better spot, even though I do not believe this is gonna be a hole where the albatross will be that frequent. 10% elevation, true distance number, and you can see that I tried to estimate with the ball guideline that I do have on my Goliath to aim at the pin, but I'm aiming with a little bit too much backspin and missing it short in line. And this is the difficulty with playing with long irons that do not have a good ball guideline. We have to guess, and sometimes we do guess wrong. In a worst case scenario on this hole, we're gonna see ourselves with an eagle. Hole number 4. This is going to be a par 3 that's going to be played very similar to how it was before. I do think though that the difficulty is the same when it comes to having the pin where we have it now in the video, or when it was more left and a little bit further back. It would be that you may require to use a little bit more backspin than normal, because before we could actually have to use a little topspin. So here I'm using one backspin, one left spin, and here we come for the difficult part for players that do play in the lower divisions and play with clubs that do not have a good ball guideline. So let's take an example. Let's say that you would be playing with Grizzly level 7 or better. That would mean that you would be having a ball guideline of 4.5. which means that you would have a ball guideline to actually be able to aim directly at the hole. Playing with a club such as the Backbone here, or a Goliath, or any other club that do not have a 4.5 ball guideline, you won't see the rollout, which means that you're going to have to guess. And that's going to be very difficult, and you're going to have to be a little bit lucky to make the right call. Elevation though is 10%, and I'm playing it max plus 10% in headwind. In crosswinds I would be playing it medium distance plus 10, and in tailwind I would be playing it medium distance plus 10 as well. A navigator is the only thing that is needed. I think it's great to use a navigator to reduce the wind just slightly. Take your game to the next level with our ultimate tournament text guide for expert and or master division for the spring major tournament. Is finally here. Sakura Hills 2 in the spring major tournament. We have a very special deal to celebrate the spring major week. Make sure to look in the description down below for the code to get 50% off. Yes, 50% off starting Monday the 21st of April, going all the way up into Wednesday the 23rd of April. So once Monday come, check down in the video description or just look elsewhere on social media for this heavy discount. You need to use the code to be able to get the discount as well. You go to patreon.com/golfclashtommy via the link in the description down below, or scanning the QR code. Free to play ball alternatives and paid ball alternatives as well. It doesn't get much better than that. So make sure to utilize the 50% discount here for the spring major tournament and get yourself in the mix of getting a good result. Hole number 5, the drive. Here we do want to get the ball as close to the rough line at the top possible. I'm using a navigator, but you can use a better ball if you would like. Doesn't have to be a navigator. The navigator in the end gives you a way of using a little bit less than 2 rings of overpower. If you would be playing with a power 2 ball or a power 3 ball, no overpower would be necessary. Bouncing over the rough and the sand there on the left, and now we get that little extra roll, which is nice. 4.5 bar topspin and 1 left spin and we're getting to 347 yards. We do want to get above 340 yards, otherwise the distance will be a problem on the second shot. The second shot I do play with a Guardian. The reason I'm playing with the Guardian instead of doing the classic rough bump is now when the pin stands so far up on the green compared to before, it's going to be much more glitch spots if we're going to get the speed enough towards the pin. If you do have a Guardian that is having max backspin, this is the aim point that you should be having. But now when not having full backspin, only having I think 82 in stat, with Guardian level 4, we need to aim a little bit closer to pin because the rollback is not going to be as strong as when we do have max backspin. But the idea with this type of shot is what I wanted to display, is that we're using our first bounce on the green and we are going directly at the pin. No elevation whatsoever here and true club distance number. The difficult part obviously with the Guardian in this case is that we do not have a ball guideline to follow. I mean, we do not have a good ball guideline to follow, which is going to have to do some guesswork. However though, going for the rough bump is still going to get you a possibility for an eagle, the same as the Guardian, but I do think there is too much risk for the reward that we can get, because there is very few spots in that rough that is consistent enough to attacking the pin every single time, especially now when the pin stands so far back. On the drive on hole 6, I decided to do a no movement, so I'm not touching the target until it's time to adjust the rings. I'm using 3 right spin, and I'm in this case using 4 bars of topspin. As we're not in max distance of our club, we can definitely play with a katana, we can play with any other ball as well that do have power 1 or better. The only thing though that you might need to do is, if you do not have side spin 3, you need to compensate with a little bit of right curl if you're using a ball that you have less than 3 side spin. Simple drive adjust is max plus 10, and we're getting it up to around 340 to 350 yards. The second shot you can do in 2 ways. One, you use a Guardian or a maxed out sniper, and you aim for the green and you use backspin to hole. Or you're playing the funnel, which is the way that I prefer to play. But playing into the funnel it's giving you a much better chance for a drop, but at the same time you don't really have much room for errors. So that is a risk you're going to have in your mind when you're calculating it out which way you want to play. So 1, you bounce on the green, or 2, you go for a rough bump into the funnel. Spins will vary depending on what type of wind direction it is, and I'm aiming with the inner ring, the green ring as it's called, to be just by the edge of the rough line. We bounce into the rough, rolls down onto the green, we catch the funnel and getting it to drop right at pin for a beautiful albatross here on hole number 6. It's 10% elevation, true club distance number is what I'm using, and I'm using a kingmaker in this hole, this to reduce the wind as much as possible, but we are not really using all the stats with kingmaker, so you could technically play with more or less every single ball here on the second shot. Hole number 7. Here the pin stands way shorter than before, which is gonna make this shot to be harder than before, because now we are somewhat forced to play a rough bump or to play a sand bump if we're gonna have any chance to make an hole-in-one. So I'm going for a rough bump, and you can see that I'm aiming for the last sliver of rough, and that is obviously on a first glance very risky, but at the same time The headwind here is going to compress the ball guideline and make us land further back, so it's all accounted for. I'm using 4 and a little bit more backspin with my Goliath, and you can play with whatever long iron that gets you 4.5 backspin or more. Adjustment is maximum distance with no elevation, and we're gonna get this one to go inside the hole. So maximum distance, no elevation, power 1 numbers. You can see there that we landed center rough instead of landing at the edge of the rough as we were aiming. I was also aiming on the right side of the pin, this to compensate for the wind push that is pushing the ball from the right to left. Again, we are playing an aggressive way, but at the same time it's needed to give ourselves a look at a hole-in-one here on hole number 7. For the drive here, we're going to use the quarterback from NMT, which means that we're not going to touch the target until it's time to adjust the rings. We're going to use all the side spin, and we're going to use a little bit of top spin, this to push the ball as far down the fairway possible. Adjust max +10 and then center the ball and hit perfect. I would say using a side spin 3 ball is gonna be absolutely crucial here because of the new hole location. So a katana or a kingmaker or any other ball that you have minimum 3 right spin. So we're getting it down there nicely, and the higher up we are, the better it's going to be in terms of the angle for the second shot. Second shot, we're playing with our thorn. Here comes the issue with not having a good ball guideline. We're gonna have to try to estimate on how the side spin will push the ball to the right. So we're using all the side spin that we can, and I'm using backspin as well to make sure that I'm having my first bounce on the green for more consistency. You can also see that we are close to max line, which in the end is gonna be a little bit of an issue if having a strong headwind. So not maybe the ultimate position for the new hole location here, because we can't really do much else if not using a side spin 4 or even a side spin 5 ball, which obviously exists, but not something that I want to focus on here. Adjust, I play max +10. Unfortunately, I do hit a great left, and if I would be hitting a perfect, I would have been very, very close. But a great ball there made me miss to the left-hand side. At least in the end, it's gonna always be a simple birdie. But the new hole location definitely makes this hole to be a little bit tougher than what we are used to have. So on the drive here, I would strongly recommend to use the big topper. Doesn't matter what the level you have the big topper in, but we're gonna use it for its top spin. Adjust this max +10, and I'm using all the top spin from an NMT position. Adjustment is done. I'm using half a ball of right curl. In the end, I should have used a little bit less based on how close I'm getting to the right hand side here, but getting all the top spin makes the ball roll as long as we want, because we do want to get as far down this fairway, and this is great. Headwind is going to be a problem for those of you not having a big topper, because it's going to be difficult to reach to where we want to reach, but at the same time it's going to be a difficult one nonetheless, because if you're unlucky getting dead rollouts and stuff like that, it's going to be a long way to the green, and this should be considered as an eagle only hole. On the second shot, we shall ensure to go and get the ball to green, 2 right spin and 4.5 bar top spin. I'm trying to aim at a spot that gives me a nice little bounce. I'm adjusting max +10. The problem here playing with a club such as the Big Dog is that the accuracy is absolutely terrible, which means a great ball like this is going to definitely cause some issues. So make sure to hit perfect on the second shot, or use another club with more accuracy. Now it's not the end of the world, because I'm ending up to have a very short wedge with a perfect ball, or maybe a great right that would be on the green for a simple putt. Obviously the putt is what we want to achieve, but in the end I wanted to show this shot just to display how we can play the second shot, but make sure that you do hit perfect. It's a difficult hole, this one. Get the eagle and run. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this playthrough for Rookie Division with various wins for the Spring Major Tournament. Don't miss out
all the tournament package has 50% off on patreon.com/goldclashtom. You can scan the QR code here on the screen or use the link in the description and down below. If you enjoy the free content here on the channel, make sure to hit the thumbs up. And now, let's enjoy the week together. Spring major tournament is about to happen. Sakura Hills, let's crush it.